Hello, Vista students. In that any college program, there will be college papers. I wanted to give you some lessons learned, kind of a head start into writing the college paper. The basic question I hear most frequently is why do we stress writing in these college papers? What does it have to do with real life, if you will? I would suggest to you that the college paper is equivalent to, equates with the professional paper you'll write in the workplace. Both are similarly structured, logic arguments delivered the same way, the same demands on grammar and spelling. So I suggest to you what we're doing here in the Vista program with writing the college essay and stressing not just content, what you know, but the writing itself, how you present it, is directly pertinent to the workplace. You'll want to write professionally in both areas. So as we get started, let me give you this a quick guide that is very helpful and readily accessible. Of course, we stress APA formatting. I've used APA formatting for over 2 decades, so I'm very familiar with it. But in the final analysis, I don't want to stress so much APA formatting as I do a professional writing format. So whether you adopt APA strictly or we have some adaptation of it is somewhat irrelevant as long as it's a professional paper. Where can you find a guide for that professional paper? If you take a look at the URL address that I have on the screen, this is a great place to go. If you have any questions on title page format, thesis statements, delivering a logic argument, anything about writing the college paper, which again equates directly to writing the professional paper in your workplace, can be found at that site. All right, let's start with this. Any professional paper, of course, a college essay, but a professional paper you write in the workplace will always have a cover page. One of the principal problems I find in college papers is we'll turn them in with no cover page, not even the name of the student. Please get very familiar when you write a professional paper. Again, here in this course or any course at Vista, but in any professional paper, always have a cover page. You'll want to tell on the cover page what's the report, what's the essay about, who are you, who is it intended for, and then of course you'll always put a date on a professional paper. So that is what you see on the screen is my template for a title page on every paper you'll turn in, I suggest throughout Vista. All right, let's take a look at how the heck would you structure a college paper? And again, it is much like the professional papers you'll write in the workplace. Basically, every college paper, essentially every professional paper, will be laid out with an introduction, the body of the report, the body of the paper, and then a conclusion. If you take a look at the right side of your screen, what is a key element within the introduction? Your thesis statement. What argument are you delivering? What is your key point that you're making in the paper or in the report? Part of your introduction will lay out the level or the detail that you'll provide, the supporting detail you'll provide in the paper to support that thesis statement. So what would we expect in the body of the paper? Sections specifically headed with the key detail points that you make in your introduction. And then of course every detail will have a supporting logic to it. That's the basic structure of any report. And then of course you want to conclude it. A conclusion will say, here's what we studied, here's what I presented, here are the conclusion, the recommendations, the conclusions, the end point. All right? So now, how would you provide that support? If you remember, in your introduction, you make a thesis statement. I think something should happen. Then in the paper, you'll have a section that support your thesis. You'll have typically 2, 3, 4 sections that support your thesis in your introduction. How would you deliver support for the claim you make to that thesis? Here's my little example. We never want to rely on opinion. We hear this in common conversation all the time. Because I said so. Well, I think so. Well, somebody down the block told me. You'll never want to present unsupported, non-supported opinion in a college essay or in a professional paper. If you're writing a paper for your VP of operations, what would your VP expect? You make some sort of claim and then you support it with clear evidence. Here's my example. If your claim, your logic claim is, hey, all children should drink milk. Well, what would be the logical response to somebody listening? Why? Why would they have to drink milk? What would some foundation be that you would provide in a logic argument? Well, because my grandmother said so. Well, what would you anticipate as a response from the reader or the listener? Well, that's a big deal. I don't, so what? What would your position then be? You want to start bringing evidence out like this. Well, my grandmother says the AMA had a report on it. Again, what would a response be? Well, big deal. Who's the AMA anyway? Then you deliver the meat of your support. So now think of this, a logic argument in your paper or in your real life, your everyday life, or in the workplace. What would it be? You make a specific claim. I think that we should open a branch in Nebraska. I think we should put on a third shift. Well, why? You'll want to provide clear evidence why your recommendations are correct. All right, does that make sense? If you have any questions, you can certainly call me. I love to talk about this, but you can look up how to deliver a basic logic argument. Every college essay will have it. Every professional paper will demand it. All right, let's take a look at the layout of your college paper. A standard essay, and this is much like the standard professional paper. It has an introduction. You can read on the screen, you can pause these slides, but take a look at the introduction, what goes into it. The key here is a thesis statement. What are you trying to prove? Now, look, you'll have the body of the paper. The body of the paper will have paragraphs, sections with clear section headings and subsection headings that go into detail that's supporting logic argument for every detail that you put in the introduction. If you make a claim in your introduction and say, and I think it's this way because of 3 things, well, I would expect to see 3 sections in the body of the paper, well laid out with evidence. And then, of course, your conclusion. Well, that's pretty much it for writing the college paper. Please be sure that you want to write professionally. Why here at Vista do we stress writing? Because it directly relates to professional writing that you'll do in the workplace. What would every professional paper have? A title page, page numbers. You'll want to put in section headings and subsection headings. Every paper has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Every paper that you'll write, including in the workplace, will have references to that supporting evidence. Where do you put those references? At the end of the document, an end of document reference page. Well, everybody, I hope this helps you with writing your college papers. Good luck, and I'll see you online.